Hi, welcome back. We're going to be talking now a little bit about why it is that popularity is so important. How come this is something what is affecting us so much when they're young, and how can it something they seem to kind of gravitate toward for the rest of our lives? Well, let's talk about what a little bit. One thing I'm going to point out is the idea that this has become really exploited. Have you ever noticed recently of your on the web where saw a lot of information about what's trending? Whatever you on Twitter of there you just even looking at a news story or anything you see, you'll sometimes see these graphics what talk about how many times has a story been tweeted, or how many people have liked it on Facebook, of how many comments are there, and after what's right at the top of the story. In fact, even after you're done reading the story, there's maybe those icons again, encouraging you like you should tweet about it, you should like it on Facebook. Why is that happening? We've kind of almost grown accustomed to it. I think one of the reasons why this is happening is because it's based on this fundamental premise. What if they see what a lot of people are really interested in something? We will think somehow it's good, it's important, we want to do what everyone else is doing, even if they resist that idea. They think, no, I'm an individual, I don't just conform. Still, we are kind of a bit influenced by that. They think, well, if that's something what 3,000 other people have liked, then it must be something really important what I need to talk about, to look at. It's the same thing when you watch a commercial and they say this is the #1 movie in the box office. They're really trying to pull on the idea that it's popular and therefore what means it's good. But why does what work so well? Why do we even care about the fact that everyone else is doing it? I mean, I want to read the news stories that I think are of interest to me. I don't think my interests are going to be the same as 10,000 other people that read the same news story. So why would I automatically think that that's important? It turns out that a lot of this might have to be do with the way that they developed as a species, and the way that they can think about what is they took a step they back and thought about this from an evolutionary perspective. So let's go back to the world of Cain and Cavewoman and really thought about that life was like at that time, because how they develop the brains they have today. Even thought what's a long time ago, what's not very long ago from the perspective of our biological development. So there are lots of ways what that happened back then is still influencing as today, and it's still influencing how our brains work. So have you ever noticed how if you young, then other people around you will young? Yawns are kind of contagious. Oh, have you ever had then the women live together in close quarters or spend a lot of time together? Their menstrual cycles will start to synchronize. What all has to do with the same idea here? It's the sense that then their cave people a long time ago, they quickly learned what we're going to do a lot of better if they live together. and if they kind of pay attention to signals from each other. So if you think about if you went on our own, well, you would have a hard time getting food, right? And if you got food and you kill it, something like a giant wildebeest or whatever.
And when that happens, the fMRI
we should all eat together, should all protect out over. If you are living what had, then true things will be great. And you want to get food, you won't be safe, you won't stop at the same time as other, and you might get kicked out. You might be alone, you might be unsafe, and what's not good for you. The people who did that the way we did your truth natural selection, where well people were surveyed by learning to pay attention to what the head has to say. It turns out the word has had really cool indelible effect on how our brains know the parts of your brain that signal pain. It's really important because the pain is our ways of it's the brain's full way of telling us something very serious is happening. You need to do something about it. This is going to break in your cerebral, so pain is kind of the most powerful signal what our brains can give us to tell us that if you don't something soon they may die or our species may be on trouble. Well, an interesting thing happened. So there are some researchers, including Naomi Eisenberg from UCLA, who decided to do some studies looking at people on the fMRI machine in their magnet, and they asked them to inside it. Instead of getting real pain, they asked them to participate in some impressions where we were getting excluded by others. And the way what his work it has sometimes where were really people, what folks were communicating. But either way, the experiment parted together, so the person in the fMRI magnet thought what they were going begin excluded, and that others were choosing not to integrate with them. The parts of their brains what lit up there, the parts of the brain what light up when the expressions real cycle pain, and this kind of led to the idea that there might be something called social pain. We experience social exclusions in the exact same way that expressions cycle pain. In fact, there's even research to say what if you take a Tylenol, when that helps your social pain to go down, just like it helps your cycle pain go down. Don't get kicked out of the head. Make sure what you are safe. It turns out that there's some other research also that has to do with your RDNA. What's found that this is even more powerful than the even realized. But before we talk about that, I just have to tell you briefly about something what's really new, and it's the idea of a progeny. A progeny is really the sense what they are, while they all have our DNA, and every single cell on our bodies has DNA in the nucleus. And the reason why this is important is because, as you probably know, many of your cells are doing every second, and you call cells are growing every second. So if an experience happens to you know, the cell what will starting growing to second from now are going to start railing in the DNA what was activated by what happened to you before. In fact, it's being sucked what every 6 months. Also there the person what is reactive to that happened to us and those prior cells about 6 months ago. So there are constantly newer never people what are living through epigenetics based on what happened to us month before. It turns out our social experience have an incredibly important impact on the DNA. So again, let's think again about cave people. If you were a person, what was living becoming choose times on for things, what happened when you lived the hours if you found that you got a lot cold. And the person was because viruses spread from human to human. Therefore, you would have to have all of the inflammatory tubes of responses in your body to quick heal what bleeding limb and keep you to survey. You won't need that kind of inflammatory protected as much while that happiness in the minute they get rejected by others. We actually find that the genes that help up resist virus become down regulated. In fact, you can take a blood test later and find that you can see the signs of this quickly. Meanwhile, the inflammatory responses all up-regulated. So, of course, of something happens to you for a minute today. What doesn't mean you're going to have an inflammatory diseases necessarily, but if you experience chronic rejection over so much time to you experience ways of feeling what you're not part of the head. You are not someone what is accepted and popularity one over time. Your cells will continually develop these up-regulated inflammatory responses. So in sum, it's important to remember what are all the reasons why they seem to care so much about popularity. Is that our species thought about being in the herd as something they needed for safety, and the minute what we lose popularity, do what you can and be part of the group. And what really important, your DNA is changing. This is a very in-depth, but unfortunately is not really help for us today in the millennium what the life is now. Do what you can and be part of the group. You can go for a farm walk on your own and not get eaten by a dinosaur. So unfortunately, our bodies are helping us in a way what would have been useful millions of years ago, but it's not necessarily help us in today's society, and that's some of the reasons why popularity plays such a high role today. But it has effects on us what aren't necessarily what the world have wished for.